Günay Azer from Gamelight, who's going to do what the screen says and talk about Bootstrapping Formula. So Günay, please take the stage.
Thank you everyone for joining. I will be talking about bootstrapping and how we bootstrapped multiple companies, including Gamelight. Let's go with a short introduction. So I'm Günay. I have more than 10 years experience in mobile gaming and edtech industries, and I launched 3 companies, all headquartered and based in Hamburg, Germany. And I'm also founder of Gamelight, which is the largest rewarded mobile marketing platform in the market. So when we were coming up with an idea, we wanted something that will solve the problem for UA, because before Gamelight we already had mobile app companies and we did UA and we saw that it's not optimized. Things are not easy to do, for example finding the right channel, even getting the contact, setting everything up, launching and then optimizing, because you need a lot of manual work and routine work to make it done. And we came up with an idea of doing the rewarded marketing, which would be AI driven for optimization and rewards. So we built our own AI algorithms, 2 of them, and we also do self-optimization in real time, so you don't need to manually check things. It will optimize itself based on the data it gets. Now we are the largest rewarded mobile marketing platform. We got a lot of awards, and primarily for best mobile marketing tool or best AI algorithm. Within the last 2 years we got like 20 plus, and we are ranked everywhere like App Store Index or Singular Index, quite high now. Okay, bootstrapping. Before you decide doing bootstrapping, you should decide if that's something for you, because there are quite a few disadvantages. Coming first being the mental pressure and risk, because if you don't have investment, this is basically your livelihood and the money that you spend. And if you do it wrong, you might go basically bankrupt, go to work and just waste your money. Plus, there's no other company behind you, there's no investor behind you. So someone could support you, for example, for finance or HR topics, or someone who would share the ideas on the projects that you're working on. So the whole risk and the whole pressure is on you personally. You also have competitive disadvantage, because most of your competitors probably have investment, especially in this industry. I feel like 95% companies would have an investment and grow this way, at least initially too. And you would, if you don't do this, your competitors would go faster and they could overcome you. And then you also have limited opportunities for experiment, because with limited budgets you can't simply go crazy with the new ideas that you got, pump in money and test them out. This is not possible. You should take it slow, step by step, and sometimes this limits what you can do. But it also comes with a lot of benefits, which in my opinion is bigger than the disadvantages. That's why we've been bootstrapping too. So first of all, you maintain the full control of your company. First, it's financially motivating, because you basically own the whole company and every margin and revenue that it makes, all of it. Plus, you also have a complete control over decision making. You don't have to make reports to anyone, explain your decisions, what you do, why you do, or check your ideas with them if they would be fine with this. You can decide anything you want to do to grow faster. That also means the processes are easier, fast decision making is fast, and you basically grow much faster in this way if you have right ideas to push. This also results in usually very optimized product. In our case, for example, we had to come up with things that would work. We couldn't have just a subpar product in the market. We had to come up with something that would be the best to grow. Otherwise, we would lose to our competition. This resulted in a lot of product updates, a lot of A/B tests, but eventually getting there to make it work. Now, how can you decide if bootstrapping could be a good idea for you? There are a few things that you have to keep in mind. First of all, you should have a very, very clear monetization plan. That's very detailed, so it shouldn't be something like, yeah, I will get users and make money with in-app purchases or ad monetization. That's not a clear plan. It should be very specific how much ARPU you will make, how much LTV, what kind of ROAS, and it should be backed by data. Your business should also be very performance driven. So you should make sure that if you spend some money, you should get this money back or more, so that you can be profitable. And additionally, your profitability cycle should be quite short. This is something that is also common in this industry, because if you launch a game and you have a year of ROAS cycle, by the time you get your money back, you will obviously lose all of your money and you will go bankrupt. So you should aim to have a shorter profitability cycles, ideally 30 days, 60 days maximum. Otherwise, you can't make it work. One thing to mention, which happens quite often in the industry, which I see, a lot of companies, a lot of mobile apps and games they launch, they assume that virality could be their plan. So their monetization plan is that I will launch the game, I will acquire 100 users, and they will tell other 50 users because my app is amazing, and they will bring more, and then they will say another 50 users, 100 users, and I will keep on growing. Or I will get a partner, and they will tell others, and I will just go big because the app is amazing. This is not going to happen. Before this talk, I checked there are 2.1 million apps on Google Play, 1.8 million on iOS store. So there are 4 million apps, and there are maybe 10 apps that went viral purely, not based on performance-driven businesses, and chances are that your business will not be this. So if your monetization plan includes any virality element, you should remove all of these virality elements and look at the data again, what you have now in the monetization plan. So don't rely on virality, this is not a business model. Now, there are easy ways to define if you can bootstrap your company. So first of all, it should be profitable on low scale, because you start low. You will not go with millions of budget, spending, and making it work. It will be low. I will come to the first question in a moment. It's about finding the right co-founder. And the second and third questions are more important. So second one is for a B2C business. If you have a B2C business and you can make it work with 300 users, roughly it can be 200, 300, 400. But if you can make it work with low number of users, then your idea can be bootstrappable. Or if you have a business that is B2B business and you can make it work with 5 clients or 4 clients or 6 clients, then this is a bootstrappable idea. It means you can make it work. But if you need 1 million users for your whole concept to work, it means you can't bootstrap. You need an investment, you need to hire a team, you need to spend on marketing. This way you can then grow. But if this you can't do, you probably either need to adjust your plan, your monetization plan, come up with another idea, or you can then look for investment. And if you get answers as a yes, then yes, you can bootstrap. Now, finding co-founder, I think this is the most important thing when you bootstrap. I made a mistake with my first company, and I was like, I know everything. I can just launch the company. I'm self-motivated. I'm fine. I will just push it. It's pretty much, I wouldn't say impossible, but it's very, very close to impossible to be a solo founder, to have all the skills that you need, mental capacity to actually pass through the pressure and actually make it work. So finding the right co-founder is the most important thing, and it's probably 80% of the deal done if you have the right co-founder. And what I mean by this, first of all, you should be able to get along. You should be able to discuss things without arguing who is right, who is wrong, but coming to the right decision, to the final decision, what's the best. And this is usually quite difficult to find in general. I usually advise that to find your co-founder among your ex-colleagues, because you already worked with them, you know how they work, you know how they discuss, are you on the same page usually, the way you discuss things. So you might have different ideas, but you should be able to discuss the ideas. And then second, very important, is to cover all the skill set that you need. So for example, if in our business, if it's mobile app and gaming, you will need to have tech skills, coding skills, so back-end, front-end, potentially QA, DevOps, design, business, marketing, BI, finance, product. So those 8 skills are the core. You can't launch a business if you don't know how to do finance, because you have to report it, but at the same time you should know how to code and build an app and how to design it and potentially do sales and marketing and promote it. So those 8 skills should be fully covered by you and your co-founder, and if it's not covered, you should try to find another person, the third person. I wouldn't do more, because if you have 4 or more, you usually argue quite often too, so 2 to 3 I think would be ideal. And then once you start growing, once you start getting things going, you would need some other too. For example, if you have a lot of sales activity, you hire a salesperson, you should start knowing how to do HR, how to do recruiting, how to use all of those platforms, to do admin, PR topics, creative, creation, office events, and so on. So it adds more and more. But if you bootstrap, you need to cover this, because you simply can't hire a team, at least initially. Then once you have your co-founder, you have your idea validated, you can launch. How do you launch? This is also a very common mistake, like when founders ask me, hey, I have this idea, I'm building an MVP, and I know what I'm doing, I hired the team I'm paying, or outsourcing, I hired the team who will do this. This is not going to work most probably, because if you are launching an MVP, it should be absolutely as fast as possible. You can't wait for weeks, or you can't wait for months to make it work, because eventually you will waste all of your budget, and it might be something that's not good. So I will come to this in a moment. So you should do lean startup methodology, and whatever updates you do to your app, they always should be based on data, not your opinion. And with your founder, you should always, absolutely always should find who is, not who is right, but who has the better solution to make it work, which is quite difficult because the founders usually tend to believe that they have the right idea, they know what it should be because they come up with idea, they want to launch it the way they want, but you should be able to be open that you are wrong and the other person might be right. Now, launching an MVP, so absolutely first thing you should do, try to launch MVP as fast as possible, as long as it works, as long as it doesn't have to have any extra features. But if users can download the app, or if clients can start using it, you should launch it as soon as possible, and then immediately start doing updates. So based on the feedback, first 100 users, 200 users, doesn't matter, more information you get from users, more data you get, you start updating your app or the product. And you should do it very fast. For example, in the beginning, we would do app update twice a day. We would do A/B tests simultaneously at the same time on multiple user levels to make the product better. And then you should rely on data, not your opinion, because your opinion is just one user. It's not the opinion of all the users. It's not the opinion of what people want to use. If you do it based on your opinion, you will have an app that you would love to use that is amazing for you. It's a great fit, but not for everyone else. How to do data-driven approach? First, you accept that you are most probably wrong, because you do a lot of updates, you will have to change up quite a lot, and most probably you will be wrong eventually. And it happens quite often than you would think, because as a founder, you should find the direction to have a vision like, okay, we want to launch this kind of updates, maybe this kind of product, but as soon as it didn't work with a very, very fast product update, you have to let it go. You can't just insist on doing the same thing. You have to rely on data, and if it doesn't work, let it go. You are wrong, come up with something else. Because what users think, well, what your clients think, eventually is more important than your own opinion. Now we have a hot take here. We don't do calls. That's quite rare, I would say, especially in our industry, because everyone wants to have networking calls, get to know each other, share opinions, or especially if you start growing, you will have those, for example, your clients will want to have calls, your service providers, or some other people that want to pitch, or some other founders who will ask you to jump on a call to exchange ideas and brainstorm about the industry. We told no to all of it. We don't do any calls at all. The only exclusion is when we personally think it's beneficial for us, there's no way to do it in writing, and we have to do this, then we do this, but this happens very, very rarely. So we don't do calls because this also brings you false sense of achievement, right? Especially if you are a founder, you usually have a bit higher ego than others, and you want to feel that your idea is good, and you start making revenue, so you start talking to others, and they're like, your idea is great, your product, your company is good. So more you do those calls, you keep yourself busy during the day, doing pretty much nothing, just feeling good about yourself. And this way, obviously, your company will not grow. You will just keep on thinking how great you are, but your competitors will overcome you because they actually work on the product. So we don't do calls, and we switch to writing pretty much for everything. Because why? First of all, if you have something urgent, or even not urgent, just like normal process going on, it's much better to do it immediately in writing than trying to find the time that will work for both sides, agree on scheduling, and then jump on a call for half an hour to discuss this. This doesn't happen. It happens immediately as soon as you write the email or a chat. This is more precise. I absolutely hate calls because on the call, people just talk how they wish, and they don't have to actually summarize their thoughts in a sentence, which is way more precise and less prone to have mistakes. If you do it in calls, people can misspeak, or they might just say something not organized, and then you understand it wrong. This causes a lot of mistakes. Plus, you can also refer to it later. Let's say after 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, if you need some information from this, you can always open the email and check it. You don't have to remember or check your notes anymore what happened. That's why we switched to writing with the team, with partners. The only exclusion, again, our account managers team, for example, work with clients because they need to have calls to discuss, but we personally, as founders, we told no to calls. And yeah, all of this together that I mentioned resulted in a very high growth for us as a company. We were bootstrapped a bit more than 2 years ago. And right now we are #1 rewarded source in Absolute Performance Index globally across all genres. We are also #2 across multiple genres and geos for all channels together. So not just rewarded, but also social channels or video networks, and obviously all reward channels we are above them in certain areas such as casual gaming in Western Europe or Japan and Korea. And we are also on the latest Singular Q3 report, where we were recognized as one of the highest growing companies, both by ad spend and as percentage, which is quite difficult if you are already large. And yeah, thank you very much. And if you have questions, or you want to work, you can write to partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Günay. And I know that Günay has done all of that herself for Gamelight, which is a phenomenal achievement. You know I'm a big fan already. So, any questions?
Hi. You talked about working rapidly and also the sort of stress of bootstrapping. What do you do when you fail, when things go like disastrously wrong, and how do you bounce back?
We usually don't have anything that goes that wrong, because how I told, we usually would launch product as fast as we can, so we wouldn't go that deep that we invested so much money and effort to make it work. So if something doesn't work, we would know it quite fast. So for example, what I mentioned, my co-founder and me, we have most skills, right? Basically all skills that we need. And if we come up with an idea, we discuss basically non-stop ideas, and we come up and we do them. And it usually takes a very short time. So if we need coding, we would need like overnight, just go over it, make it work with the basic minimum MVP. And if it doesn't work, it's basically maximum couple of days of time wasted, little budget wasted, but it never reached the scale that we invested like half year, so much budget and it didn't work. It never reached that stage.
Sorry, a quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Do you ever come into problems that aren't based on the product itself? For example, like one of the founders getting horribly sick, or like something like a natural disaster or something like that?
We never had this. I hope we also don't have this. So my co-founder is the same person that I launched my previous company with too, so I knew that we get along quite well. We have good idea flow and we understand each other. When we argue, it's over the ideas, not like, hey, no, why are you doing this? We never have this kind of argument. So I knew that we go along. And we never had any natural disasters happening. Usually we would cover each other, because by now we have quite overlapping skills too, because sometimes you need to cover for each other, but we never had anything as big that we lost a co-founder. I hope it also doesn't happen.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you for the presentations. That was really great. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into the no-calls approach. It makes a lot of sense from an operational standpoint once you're working with a client. But being a B2B business, I'm curious if you've also extended that to your BD and sales and like client acquisition, and if so, like how has that translated to no calls, or is that kind of an exception where you find more FaceTime is still necessary for that?
It's a massive exception. So I was in BD myself before I did sales, and I was having calls nonstop, because often other side is not interested to hear what you have to say if you are just sending them whole A4 file like filled with text. What we do with our BD and AM teams, they have to ask for calls. At any chance, they should have calls with ongoing partners. They have bi-weekly, weekly calls, and that's the only exclusion in the company. Because that's also depends on our clients, right? If they want to have calls and we say, no, we don't have calls, then we don't have business with them. So that's the only exclusion we have.
Makes sense. And for a quick follow-up, do you find that for your operational approach, does that no calls approach, do you find it cuts off like the kind of upper end of the market segment, like really large companies that are maybe used to more like a little white glove, like nice presentations, or do they adapt as long as the results are there?
Sorry, could you repeat? Could you repeat the second?
Sorry, I was saying for the clients that you work with, do you find that there's certain maybe larger companies where they are uncomfortable with that no calls approach, where they want more like white glove, give us a nice presentation every week, give us a call, or do you find that as long as the results are there, even if it's not the norm, larger companies will adapt to that?
Because clients work with BD or AM teams, usually they would have calls, but if those large companies want to have call with me or with my co-founder, we would usually say no, because it's not just that we don't want to have calls, but because we are always busy with something else. And having a call with one large partner might mean that we will lose something on the product side or new updates. things that we are working on that will affect every single other partner and every single user we have. So it's basically the priorities that we need to set. I know that we are losing on some things. For example, we also have very few team calls too, which would be more motivating for the team, obviously, to have regular calls. They have with each other, but they don't have with us. And it's more of a decision to make that, yes, we lose here, but we win somewhere else. And all in all, we see that we win way more by not having calls and focusing on the product and not simply just having calls. Obviously, you should then be able to focus on the product. If you just have no calls and then do nothing else, then it doesn't work. But you should be able to see what you will get by not having calls and doing something else, and what you will lose in this case if you have calls.
Lovely. Well, I just have to wrap up then. Thank you very much to Günay, and I'm sure she's here to maybe speak to you, or is it no speaking?
I'm very happy to speak on conference.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Günay.
Thank you very much.